again, good afternoon everyone. I am recording this discussion for today. So we're going to discuss the two units, the course unit 4, cybercrime offenses, and this are continuation of the R18175 in course unit 5. Okay, so let's start. So R18175, the topics for this course unit 4 are the cybercrime offenses, the other cybercrimes, the use of ICT on cybercrimes, and the duties of the law enforcement. Let's start. Okay. So what is R18175? So R18175 is the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. So kahit nagkaroon na tayo ng RA8792 noon, during time nagkaroon tayo ng I Love You virus, okay, yung Cybercrime Prevention Act, nag-enact upon pa lang siya nung dumating si late President Benigno S. Aquino III or si Noynoy Aquino. So what is the R18175? It is an act defining what is cybercrime, providing for the prevention, investigation, suppression, and the imposition of penalties therefore and for the other purposes. Okay. So cybercrime offenses under Section 4. So what are the classification of cybercrime offenses? So the following acts constitute the offense of core cybercrimes punishable under the Act. Okay, so there are three, okay, in Section 4. Offenses against the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of computer data and systems. We have the computer-related offenses and the content-related offenses. Isa-isahin natin sila. So, when it comes to the offenses against the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the computer data and systems, there are 5 acts, okay, na binanggit dito or in-identify nila, such as the illegal access, illegal interception, data interference, system interference, and the misuse of devices. Okay, so if you have done any of these acts na naka-define dito or naka-identify dito, you shall be punished with imprisonment of prison mayor or a fine at least 200,000 pesos. Lahat itong apat na to, except lang po dito sa ating misuse of devices. There's a separate punishment and penalty for the misuse of devices, which we will tackle later on. Okay, so let's define first what is illegal access. So illegal access, this means the access to the whole or any part of the computer system without right. For example, you're an employee, inopen mo yung computer ng boss mo, that is an illegal access. If you don't have a right to open any computer, system man yan or computer data, that is what we call illegal access. Or for example, we're not just simply pertaining for a laptop or desktop. Pwede rin naman yung mga mobile devices natin. If you are accessing their computer system without right, that is what we call illegal access. As simple as that. Another, we have this one, illegal interception. So what is interception ba? Diba? When we say interception, we refer to listening to recording, ayan, monitoring or surveillance of the content communication, including procurement of the content of the data either through access of the computer system or indirectly through the use of electronic eavesdropping or tapping devices at the same time that the communication is occurring. Or yung alam mo yung nagwa-wiretapping kayo, you know what is that? Wiretapping, alam mo yung gumagamit ka ng another device para pakinggan mo yung pinag-uusapan ng dalawa. So, bawal yun.
Yes,
that is illegal interception. So, the interception made by technical means and without right of any non-public transmission. Non-public, it means it is a private of computer data to, from, or within a computer system. Now, may napapanood tayo sa movies. There are certain movies wherein the police officer, diba, will intercept in the communications between the kidnappers and the parents of those a child who's being kidnapped. Diba, may mga ganong movie? Legal yon, okay? Provided, however, it is not be unlawful for an officer employee or agent of a service provider whose facilities are used in the transmission of communication to intercept, disclose, or use the communication in the normal course of employment. Ang bawal, if it is private, okay? If it is private or private communication between two individuals and you try to intercept, pinapakinggan mo kung anong pinag-uusapan nila, that is illegal. But if it is done by a lawful officer or any person na authorized to do that because in their employment, it is legal. For example, call center. Meron ba nag-call center sa inyo dito? Diba sa call center, lahat ng calls nila naka-recording? Yung mismong employee ng call center and yung client nila naka-record dyan. So, it is not illegal. Pero if that communication is from two private individuals, that is illegal interception. Yung mga chismosa, nakikialam ng mga usapan ng iba, gumagamit ka ng computer para mapakinggan ang pinag-uusapan nila, bawal yon. Next. Another. So, we have data interference. What is data interference naman? What is the difference between interference and interception? In interception, you are discreetly, diba, listening, diba, recording the communications between two parties. In data interference, interference means parang sinisira mo or you are trying to destroy the waves between the two parties. So, data interference, this is the intentional or reckless alteration, damaging, deletion, or deterioration of computer data, electronic document, or electronic data message without right, including the introduction or transmission of viruses. Sinisira mo or naghihinder ka. So, dalawa yan. Sometimes, computer data ang nagkakaroon ng interference or system naman. Okay? But in the act of interference. So, the intentional alteration or reckless hindering or interference within the functioning of computer or computer network by inputting, transmitting, damaging, deleting, deteriorating, altering, or suppressing computer data or program. So, the other one is just only a data. This one is a computer system. So, lahat yan, if you committed any of these acts, ang punishment mo would be prison mayor and a fine of at least minimum of 200,000 pesos. Minimum yon. But, pagdating nito, okay, when it comes to this one, the misuse of devices, mag-iiba po yung punishment niya. Doon, na-under sila ng iisa na offenses against confidentiality, integrity, and availability of computer data and systems. So, kapag misuse of devices naman, ang punishment dito shall be in prison mayor pa din and a fine not more than 500,000 pesos or both if it is committed through any of the following acts. So, what is this? The misuse of devices. The use, production, sale, procurement, importation, distribution, or otherwise making available intentionally and without right of any of the following. Number 1, if it is a device, diba? Hindi lang device, mobile device, pati yung computer program, binibenta po kasi yan. Designed or adopted primarily for the purpose of committing any of the offenses under these rules. For example, you buy a program or nagbebenta ka ng program which will, which will help the cyber criminal to have an illegal access, to have data interference or system interference, anything. Bawal yon kapag nagbebenta ka or gumagamit ka ng ganyan. A computer password, access code, or similar data by which the whole or any part of the computer system is capable of being accessed. For example, pinagkatiwala sa'yo yung password ng bangko, ng kumpanya mo, or ng kumpanya nyo. For example, yung mismong computer system nila, dito na ma-access lahat ng mga bank accounts nila. Binigay mo yung password, binenta mo, ginamit mo sa maling pamamaraan or without right. That is what we call misuse of devices. Ayan. So, pwede kang maparusahan ng ganito. So, if yon use naman, the other thing should be possession naman. So, parang drugs, diba? If there is use, there is also possession. The possession of an item referred to in subparagraph 1 and 2 above with the intent to use Again, it is not just mere possession, but with intent to use the said devices for the purpose of committing any of the offenses under this section. Provided, sabi din dito, no criminal liability shall attach when the use, production, sale, procurement, importation, distribution, otherwise making available or possession of computer devices or data referred to in this section is for the authorized testing of the computer system. If it is for testing lang, wala ka pong kaso. Authorized or pinapayagan ka na lang gamitin yun or ibenta. Ngayon, sa misuse of devices, papasok yung tinatawag nating critical infrastructure. Ano po yung mga critical infrastructure, ma'am? So, when we say critical infrastructure, we refers to the computer system, network man yan, or computer data, which are so vital to the country that the incapacity or destruction of the interference with such system would cause an impact on the security and national security man, economic security man, or national or public health and safety. Ito yung mga ang ginagawa mo or yung target mo mismo is yung mga government computer system. For example, tinitira mo yung SSS. Ayan, tinitira mo yung GSIS. Tinitira mo yung computer system ng PNP. Sinisira mo yung cybercrime network ng PNP. Ang tawag natin doon ay critical infrastructure. So, those type of targets, medyo malaki ang penalty. If any of the punishable acts enumerated in Section 4 committed against, again, yung target mo is the critical infrastructure, the penalty of reclusion temporal, medyo mabigat, diba? Hindi lang siya prison mayor, or a fine of at least 500,000 pesos up to the maximum amount commensurate to the damage incurred, or both shall be imposed. So that is the misuse of devices. Next. Under Section 4, we also have the computer-related offenses. So, if you have done any of these computer-related offenses, you shall be punished of at least, again, imprisonment of prison mayor and a fine of at least 200,000 pesos up to the maximum amount commensurate to the damage incurred. So, there are three computer-related offenses. We have computer-related forgery, we have computer-related fraud, and computer-related identity theft. So, isa-isahin natin. So, what is computer-related forgery? Can we do forgery physically without using the computer? Pwede ba natin gawin ng forgery without the use of the computer? Can we?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Ngayon, paano siya magiging computer-related forgery? If forgery is done by using a computer, as simple as that. So, the input, alteration, or deletion of any computer data without right, resulting in unauthentic data with the intent that it be considered or acted upon for legal purposes. For example, there's a last will testament. Ayan, tapos pinilitan mo yung pangalan doon, naka-PDF kasi. So, that is computer-related forgery. The act of knowingly using computer data, which is the product of computer-related forgery, as defined herein for the purpose of perpetuating a fraudulent or dishonest design. So, still that is forgery. You're acting or you're doing or committing forgery with the use of the computer. Next, another fraud. Ganun din, or panloloko. Okay? The unauthorized input, alteration, or deletion of computer data man yan, program, or even by interference in the function of computer system causing damage thereby with fraudulent intent, may balak kang manloko, that if no damage has yet been caused, the penalty imposable shall be 1 degree lower. But if there is, okay, if there is damage has been done, then it is the same punishment na provided sa ating Section 4. And the last one for the computer-related offenses is the computer-related identity theft. Ito medyo madaming makaka-relate dito. This is the intentional acquisition, use, misuse, transfer, possession, alteration, or deletion of identifying information belonging to another, whether natural man or juridical persons without right. So, for example, na-try nyo na bang meron kayong gumagamit ng pictures nyo sa FB and then papalitan nyo yung pangalan niya? Ha? For example, you will use the pictures of Ashley and then papangalanan mo ng Zebiana o magpapanggap kang si Zebiana using the pictures of Ashley. So, pwede yun sa tinatawag nating computer-related identity theft. Okay. Next. The other one in Section 4 is the content-related offenses. So, under RA 10175, there are 4. Cybersex, child pornography, unsolicited commercial communications, and the libel. But, in the implementing rules and regulations of the RA 10175, ang naka-include na lang ton is yung cybersex and libel. So, for the purpose of tackling both the IIR and RA 10175, i-discuss natin silang lahat. So, number 1 is child pornography. Remember, child pornography is being punished under RA 9775. So, any person found guilty of the child pornography shall be punished within accordance of the RA 9775, provided that the penalty to be imposed shall be 1 degree higher than provided for the RA 9775 if it is committed through a computer system. In short, okay, when it comes to child pornography, kasi they can still commit child pornography without using any computer technology. So, if it is done, the child pornography is done without the use of any computer technology, any use of internet, or any computer devices, therefore, RA 9775 will still apply. So, what if, ma'am, nag-upgrade sila? They committed child pornography with the use of the computer device. So, therefore, the punishment will be, maiiba siya. Anong mangyayari? It will be, what? 1 degree higher than that provided for RA 9775. So, for example, ma'am, in RA 9775, the punishment would be reclusion temporal only. If it is committed with the use of computer, papasok yan sa RA 10175. So, therefore, magiging 1 degree higher yan. From reclusion temporal, it will become reclusion perpetua. So, ganun ang nangyayari when it comes to child pornography. If you can see, para silang nag-overlaps ng, diba, ng law. Kasi, mayroon ng child pornography, meron pang cyber child pornography. Well, in that case, ang sabi lang sa batas ng RA 10175, yung sa RA 9775 pa rin ang masusunod. Pero kapag ginawa na, okay, kapag ginawa na or na-commit na siya within the use of the computer system, therefore, magwa 1 degree higher lang ang kanyang penalty. Is that clear when it comes to child pornography? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Next. Okay. Another. So, unsolicited commercial communication. So, ano naman yung commercial communication? The transmission of commercial electronic communication with the use of computer system which seek to advertise. Ito yung mga sa commercial. Sell or offer for sale products and services are prohibited unless, okay, pinagbabawal kasi yon yung mga, kung ano man yung communication sila about their sales, kanyan. Unless, there is a prior affirmative consent from the recipient na okay lang i-share. Kung bawal i-share, therefore, it is punishable. The primary intent of the communication is for the service or administrative announcement from the sender to its existing user, subscriber, or customer. Okay lang. Kapag ganon. Ano pa? If the following conditions are present, number 1, the commercial electronic communication contains a simple lang, valid, and reliable way for the recipient to reject or receive further commercial electronic messages. Or sometimes, the commercial electronic communication does not purposely disguise the source of the electronic message. Wala siyang tinatakpan kung kanino nanggaling man yun. And the commercial electronic communication does not purposely include misleading information in any part of the message in order to induce the recipients to read the message. So, bawal po yung, yung magbibigay ka ng mga communications without the consent of the other party. So, those are the content-related offenses. Next. So, other cybercrimes as being discussed or included in the IRR of RA 10175. So, if you can see, doon sa ating content-related offenses, ang nilagay ko na lang is yung dalawa. Kasi yung dalawa na remaining, katulad nito, balik tayo dito. Ayan, di ba ang sinidiscuss ko lang child pornography and unsolicited commercial communications? Yung cybersex kasi and libel, nalipat siya doon sa mismong other offenses according to the IRR. The IRR kasi, or Implementing Rules and Regulations, na 2015 pa lang siya lumabas. Okay, what are the other cybercrimes? Ayan, so what are the other cybercrimes? We have the cyber squatting, cybersex, cyber libel, and the other offenses. So, let's start with cyber squatting. Ito yung cyber squatting, ito yung gaya-gaya po tumaya. Okay, what is cyber squatting? The acquisition of domain name over the internet in bad faith. Yan. In order to profit, mislead, destroy reputation, and deprive others from registering the same if such domain name is, ito yung ginagaya. For example, Shopee, double P siya. Pagdating sa kanya, gumawa din siya ng another site, Shopee din, pero single P lang. But the purpose of committing that one is para gayahin, para mabawasan yung customers niya. That is cyber squatting. So, it is similar, identical, or confusingly similar to an existing trademark registered with the appropriate government agency at the time of the domain name or registration. Identical or in any way similar sila in the name of the person other than the registrant in the case of a personal name. And it is acquired without right or with intellectual property interest in it. In short, kaya ka lang gumaya para lang masira yung mismong another site na yun. So, what would be the punishment if you committed cyber squatting? So, again, you should be punished with imprisonment of prison mayor and a fine of at least 200,000 pesos. But then again, if it is committed against the critical infrastructure, okay, reclusion temporal, and at least a fine of 500,000 pesos. Kapag critical infrastructure ang target natin, kasi alam naman natin very important or vital sa society ang mga critical infrastructure, that is why mas mataas ang penalty at saka punishment ng mga critical infrastructure. So that is cyber squatting. Cybersex. Eto, alam nyo yan. Okay, what is cybersex? This is the willful engagement, maintenance, control, or operation directly man or indirectly of any lascivious exhibition of sexual organs or sexual activity with the aid of computer system. Ito yung mga gumagawa ng sex or they're making love, they're showing their sex organs in the front of the camera. Okay? For favor or consideration. So, any person found guilty of cybersex shall be punished with imprisonment of prison mayor and at least 200,000 but not exceeding 1 million pesos. But if cybersex, again, cybersex involving a child shall be punished in accordance with the provision on child pornography of the Act. For example, the cybersex committed in a den, specific den, is not only committed by the adults, meron pa rin silang mga bata or minor de edad na nakuha. So therefore, yung mga minor de edad na yon, papasok siya sa child pornography or yung RA 9775. Okay, next. Other cybercrimes, libel. Okay. So, ang libel, ito yung paninirang puri. So, ang libel, alam naman natin, we all know that libel is being punished under the revised penal code. The unlawful or prohibited acts of libel as defined in the Article 355 of the RPC as amended. Kapag committed siya with the use of the computer system, gumamit ka ng cellphone, ng paninira, gumamit ka ng Facebook, mangyayari dyan, ang tawag na sa kanya ay cyber libel. Again, if it is committed through a computer system or any other similar means which may be devised in the future shall be punished with prison correctional in its maximum period to prison mayor in its minimum period for a fine ranging 6,000 pesos up to the maximum amount determined by the court. Ayan. Provided that this provision applies only, okay, to the original author of the post or online libel, cyber libel, and not to the others who simply receive the post and react to it. For example, nag-react ka dun sa paninirampuri nung isang marites mong kaibigan, hindi ka naman makakasuhan ng libel. Kung sino lang yung nag-author or nag-post noon sa FB, yun lang ang makakasuhan ng libel. Next is other offenses. Ito, we're talking about here yung aiding or abetting, tumutulong in the commission of the cybercrime. So, any person who willfully abets or aids or financially benefited in the commission of any offenses enumerated in this act, in section 4, even in child pornography or online libel, meron kang kaso. Ibig sabihin, accomplices ka lang or accessory ka lang sa crime. Next, attempt. Meron tayong attempt to commit cybercrime. Any person who willfully attempts to commit any of the other offenses enumerated in the act shall be held liable except with the child pornography or online libel. Ano pa ba? Other liabilities and penalties. So again, all crimes defined and penalized by the revised penal code. For example, there are acts, di ba? Marami tayong mga crimes na committed or punishable na siya sa revised penal code. Ngayon, it is committed na with the use of the computer or internet or any mobile device. So therefore, ang magiging resulta nun, it would be the imposed penalty should be 1 degree higher than what is provided in the revised penal code. Again, any of the acts, any of the punishable acts under the revised penal code, when it is committed with the use or with the aid of the computer, the penalty will change, okay? The penalty will become 1 degree higher than what is provided in the revised penal code. So, madami kasing ganyan. Yung nagagawa nila noon na physically ginagawa nila online. So, ngayon, paano yung RA 10175? So, sabi na, if it is committed through the use of computer, 1 degree higher. Ayan. Liabilities and penalties for the corporate liability. Corporate liability, we're talking about here the company or yung owner. Okay? When any of the punishable acts herein defined knowingly, alam mo, it is committed on behalf or for the benefit of a juridical person. When we say juridical person, these are groups or corporate, or sometimes by a natural person acting either individually as a part or organ of the juridical person who has leading position within based on a power of representation of juridical person. Ito yung mga, ang corporate liability, ito yung mga, meron ding kaso, yung mga kumpanya, or for example, yung authority na nag-uutos or alam nilang ginagawa ng mga employee nila. So, a power of representation of the juridical person, an authority to take decision on behalf of the juridical person, and an authority to exercise control within the juridical person. The juridical person shall be held liable for a fine equivalent at least, double the fines imposable in this section. Kasi parang nangyari dyan, alam mo yung ginagawa ng employee mo. For example, meron kang call center. So, one of your call center agent, marunong sa IT expert talaga. So, alam mo na ginagamit niya yung system para sirain niya yung another company. Knowing, ikaw ang may-ari ng kumpanya nyon. If you know that one, therefore, and you are allowing your person or your agent na gawin yun, meron kang corporate liability, which is, mas mabigat yung kanyang penalty. It doubles the fines imposable in this section. So, that is corporate liability. So, that is course unit 4 of the cybercrime offenses. Do you have any questions in this part? May tanong ba kayo? Hello?
Yeah po, ma'am.
Okay, wait. So, this is the course unit 5, Identification and Preservation of Digital Evidence, a continuation lang ng RA 10175 plus the Budapest Convention. Okay, let's start. Konti lang naman to. So, bear with me. You just need to listen very carefully. So again, it is a continuation of the RA 10175 plus the Budapest Convention. Okay, ayan. Let's start. So, who are the law enforcement that will enforce the RA 10175 here in the Philippines? So, we have the NBI and PNP. So, the National Bureau of Investigation and the Philippine National Police shall be responsible for the efficient and effective law enforcement of this RA 10175. So, there are two separate agencies. In the NBI, they should create, meron tayong cybercrime division sa NBI, and it shall be headed by at least a head agent, a rank of head agent. Meanwhile, in the PNP, we have what we call the PNP ACG, or the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group or Unit, headed by at least a police director. So, sino yung supervising of the both two law enforcement agencies? So, we have the DOJ, or the Office of Cybercrime, created under the act shall be coordinated the efforts of NBI and the PNP in enforcing the provision of the act. Paano yan, ma'am? Nagtutulungan ng NBI, both NBI and PNP, in resolving issues about cybercrime. So, let's just watch this first para kilala nyo kung sino ba yung PNP-ACG, which is nasa activity nyo po ng lab activity number 5.
And for other purposes. Other and for other purposes. Taint our social or political reputation and even destroy our dignity. Of the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group. For the next 30 minutes, let me share how the PNP serves and protects the netizens from falling prey to cyber criminals. ICT is one of the greatest inventions at the turn of the new millennium. It has given us wide array of benefits and ease in our daily lives. From reconnecting to long-lost friends and acquaintances, strengthening family and social relationships, and considerable ease in shopping, banking, and commerce, while in the comfort of our homes and offices, are just some of the benefits it provides. However, it also comes with it the dangers of being victimized by cyber criminals or technical savvy and social media internet smarts who will prey on trusting and unsuspecting netizens to give and or rob us of our hard-earned money, taint our social or political reputation, and even destroy our dignity. Shown on the screen is the scope of my presentation. On facts and figures of the cyberspace. Social lives nowadays are driven by technology. The use of internet is increasing exponentially, and it already changed the landscape of the communication channel in every day. Based on the data gathered on January 2020, the world population is about 7.75 billion. Out of these, 4.54 billion is the total number of internet users, and it is worthy to note that 3.80 billion are active social media users. On time per day spent using the internet. On the average, an internet user spends 6 hours and 43 minutes online every day. However, based on records in the Philippines, the average internet user spends 9 hours and 45 minutes online every day. On daily time spent using social media, the average daily time spent using social media alone by internet user is 2 hours and 24 minutes. However, in the Philippines, the average daily time spent using social media is 3 hours and 50 minutes. On the world's most used social platforms, it is not even surprising that Facebook is world's most used social media platform with an average of almost 2.5 million active users, followed by YouTube, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger. The PNP acknowledged the problems of illegal activity and crime victimization in cyberspace, a challenge it shares among developing countries in Southeast Asia and in other parts of the world. Because of the need for a dedicated unit to acknowledge and address cybercrime, the Philippine National Police created the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group as a national support unit which was activated on February 27, 2013 and inaugurated on March 20 of the same year. The establishment of the group is a strong signal to the criminals that the PNP is very serious in addressing cybercrime in the country. The PNP realizes the need to activate a unit that will primarily be responsible in addressing cybercrimes and cyber-enabled criminality. From a small section with limited resources, no internationally certified forensic examiners, and technically inclined proactive cyber investigators, to a national support unit with proactive cyber cops and state-of-the-art digital forensic laboratories. The mission of the PNP-ACG is to implement and enforce pertinent laws on cybercrime and other related crimes, and pursue an effective anti-cybercrime campaign. And the vision of the group is that by 2025, the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group shall be a highly responsive and dynamic unit towards the attainment of a safer cyber environment. To identify and differentiate the group among other PNP offices, clear-cut function was established. Among the functions of the group are as follows. First, to investigate all cybercrimes and other crimes in which information and communications technology is used in the commission of criminal acts or the object of attack. Second, is to conduct data recovery and forensic analysis on all computers, computer peripherals, and storage devices, and other digital evidence seized by PNP units and any other law enforcement agencies within the country. Third, to provide operational support to investigating units within the PNP. Fourth, to formulate guidelines for cybercrime investigation, forensic evidence recovery, and forensic data analysis. Fifth, to conduct vulnerability assessment of security in both public and private IT infrastructures. Sixth, to establish and maintain a modern digital laboratory. 7. To conduct specialized training and seminars in coordination with the Philippine National Police Training Service on anti-cybercrime operations. And last is to maintain linkages with different PNP offices, local government agencies, and other government agencies on matters pertaining to anti-cybercrime operations. The unit is headed by the director in the person of Police Brigadier General Marvin Manuel Pipino. He is being assisted by his 2 deputies and his chief of staff. The unit has 4 divisions as support staffs, 6 operating units, and 16 regional anti-cybercrime offices. Shown are the 16 anti-cybercrime units, strategically located in the different regions in the country. Shown are the 8 provincial cybercrime teams under the 5 regional anti-cybercrime units manned by trained cybercrime investigators and digital forensic examiners as the group expands its presence in the provinces. Rizal PCRT under RACO 4A, Masbate PCRT under RACO 5, Bohol and Negros Oriental PCRT, Bukidnon, Iligan, City and Camiguin PCRTs under RACO 10, and Surigao del Norte under RACO 13. At the National Capital Region, shown are the 5 district anti-cybercrime teams under the Cyber Response Unit based in Camp Crame, Quezon City. The 4 major deliverables of the office are cybercrime response, which includes the identification, location, and arrest of cybercriminal and providing electronic evidence to support a case against him. Digital forensics, which include the conduct of computer forensics examination, cell phone forensic examination, and video forensic examination. Cyber patrolling, which is the conduct of social media exploitation and information gathering over the net. Cybersecurity, which includes vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, and creation of cybersecurity tips, bulletins, and advisories. Philippine anti-cybercrime laws. On Philippine anti-cybercrime and cyber-related laws, the PNP-ACG primarily enforced Republic Act 10175, the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012, an act which defines cybercrime and provides for the following: prevention, investigation, and suppression of cybercrimes, to include imposition of penalties for its transgression. Cybercrime includes offenses against the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of computer data and systems, illegal access, illegal interception, data interference, system interference, misuse of devices, cyber squatting. Computer-related offenses, which includes computer-related forgery, computer-related fraud, computer-related identity theft, and content-related offenses such as cybersex, child pornography, and libel. Other cyber-related laws being implemented by the ECG are the following. Republic Act 100-173, an act protecting individual personal information in information communication systems in the government and the private sector, creating for this purpose a National Privacy Commission and for other purposes. Republic Act 9775, an act defining the crime of child pornography, prescribing penalties therefore and for other purposes. Republic Act 9995, an act defining and penalizing the crime of photo and video voyeurism, prescribing penalties thereof and for other purposes. Republic Act 8792, an act providing for the recognition and use of electronic commercial and non-commercial transactions and documents, penalties for unlawful use thereof, and for other purposes. Republic Act 8484, an act regulating the issuance and use of access devices, prohibiting fraudulent acts committed relative thereto, providing penalties and for other purposes. Other related laws under the revised penal code in relation to Section 6 of Republic Act 10175, which provides 1 degree higher penalty. On cybercrime trends and statistics. As shown on the graph, there is an increasing trend in the number of cybercrime.
Okay, let's continue. So, the information I've shown you is what is important about the PNP ACG. Okay, let's start. So, what are the powers and functions of the law enforcement authorities as been discussed in the video? Sinamarize lang niya. So, the NBI and the PNP Cybercrime Unit or Division shall have the following powers and functions. So, they are the one who is investigating all the cyber crimes. They conduct data recovery, forensic analysis, or yung ating digital forensic. Ayan. They formulate guidelines in the investigation of the forensic evidence. They provide also technological support to the investigating units of the PNP and NBI. They also develop public and private sector and law enforcement agency relations in addressing cybercrimes, and they maintain necessary and relevant databases for their monitoring purposes. Kaya may mga graphs kanina. And then they develop the capacity within their organization in order to perform such duties necessary for the enforcement of the act, and they support the formulation and enforcement of the National Cybersecurity Plan, plus they perform other functions as may be required by the act. So, lahat yan. Ngayon. So, gaano ba katagal? Diba? Section 12, preservation and retention of the computer data. So, the integrity of traffic data and subscribers information. Subscriber information, eto yung user or yung client mo. For example, ikaw, Juan de la Cruz, gumamit ka ng computer, nag-transact ka, nagbayad ka ng online, pumunta ka sa gantong website, that is your subscriber information. Ngayon, alam nyo ba na lahat ng mga ginagawa nyo within the cyberspace, kahit nasabihin mong naka-incognito ka, nakatago yan, okay? Naka-save po yan or naka-preserve po, okay? Sa ating service provider. Do you know who are the service provider? Sino yung tinutukoy nating service provider? These are what? This is your internet service provider. Sino? We have
TLDT, Converge.
TLDT. Yan. Lahat, okay? All the transactions made inside the cyberspace, okay? Even if you are using incognito mode in your browser, it is always preserved. Nakasave yan. Okay? So, wala kayong ligtas. So, gaano po katagal, ma'am? Okay? How long? Diba? So, the integrity of traffic data and subscriber information shall be kept, retained, and preserved by the service provider for a minimum of 6 months. Okay? From a minimum period of 6 months from the date of the transaction. So, content data shall be similarly preserved. Again, for 6 months from the date of receipt of the order from law enforcement. So, ganon. Another thing, okay, the law enforcement authorities may order one-time extension for another 6 months. For example, can you still preserve or retain all the data or preserve the data or subscriber information of Juan de la Cruz for another i-extension nila? Pwede. Provided that once computer data is preserved, transmitted, or stored by the service providers, it is used as an evidence. Bawal naman yung automatically na, ay basta preserve mo lang kasi kahina-hinala yan. No. There is still a reason. Hindi na, meron tayong tinatawag na, alam niyo yung client, di ba, disclosure between the service provider at saka yung subscriber nila. Siyempre, meron silang parang, tawag dito, private, di ba, na bawal mong i-disclose yan unless there is a lawful authority that is asking for your information. Ayan. So, the service provider order to preserve computer data shall keep the order and is compliant therewith confidential. So, kailangan meron tayong tinatawag na court warrant. Ayan. Ayan. Collection of computer data. Ito yung tinatawag, sinasabi ko sa inyo na meron dapat court warrant. Without warrant, hindi nila pwedeng kuhanin yan. They cannot collect any computer data without the court warrant. So, the court warrant required under this section shall be issued or granted upon written application after the examination under oath of the applicant and the witnesses he may produce and showing that why? Ano ba yung mga requirements natin within that warrant for the issuance of the court warrant for the collection of the computer data from a service provider? Number 1. There are reasonable grounds to believe that any of the crimes enumerated herein above has been committed or being committed or about to committed. Ginawa na, ginagawa na, or gagawin pa lang. So, there are reasonable grounds to believe that the evidence that will be obtained is really essential or important to the conviction of any person. And there are no other means readily available for obtaining such evidence. So again, the law enforcement authorities upon the issuance of the court warrant shall be authorized to collect or record by technical or electronic means, and the service providers are required to collect or record then by the electronic means to cooperate and assist within our law enforcement. So kailangan nilang makipagtulungan, hindi na pwedeng ipitin yan. So that is the duty of a service provider. Ano pa? Disclosure of computer data. Ayan. So, ma'am, di ba, for example, there is a court warrant na. Kailan nila i-disclose yan? Within 72 hours from receipt. So, ganito. The law enforcement authorities, upon securing a court warrant, ibibigay nila yan kanino? Kay service provider. So, they shall issue an order requiring service provider or sometimes any person expert on it to disclose or submit within 72 hours from receipts of such order the subscriber's information, the traffic data, the relevant data in its possession or control in relation to the valid complaint officially docketed and assigning for the investigation. So, for example, si Police Juan de la Cruz pumunta kay PLDT. So, nagbigay siya ng court warrant. So, the PLDT niyan has the time na within 72 hours ma-disclose niya or mabigay niya yung hinihinging information ni Police Juan de la Cruz. So, ganun. 3 araw. They need to comply or to disclose the computer data na yung gustong i-collect ng mismong police officer natin. Next, search, seizure, and examination of computer data. Again, before they can conduct search and seizure, kailangan meron pa ding warrant. Okay? Where a search and seizure warrant is properly issued, the law enforcement authorities shall likewise have the following powers and duties. Number 1, So, within the time period specified in the warrant, depende kasi yan kung ilang days yung kanilang search and seizure, to conduct interception as defined in these rules. Ano yan? They can search and seize the computer data. They can secure a computer system or even the computer data, make and retain copy of those computer data, maintain the integrity or relevant stored computer data. They can conduct forensic analysis or examination of the computer data using the software or tinatawag nating digital forensic investigation. And they can also render inaccessible or remove those computer data in the access computer or computer and communications network. Ano yan? Pursuant thereto, the law enforcement authorities may order any person, for example, hindi alam kalikutin, okay? The police officer or the law enforcer doesn't know how to access the device or the computer device, he can, okay? He can appoint any person who is knowledgeable of the computer device. Pwede siyang mag-hire ng tao or pwede siyang mag-utos ng sinong tao na expert doon sa computer device who has knowledge about the functioning, ayan, of the computer system and the measures to protect and preserve the computer data therein. That is why, di ba, sa ating police enforcement in the PNP, nag-hire sila ng mga IT expert, mga graduate ng IT. Kasi nga po, meron tayong cybercrime. And when it comes to time na hindi talaga kaya ng kanilang mga law enforcer or mga police natin na graduate ng IT or expert dito, they can hire na expert within the computer para lang ma-preserve or ma-collect nila yung data na hinahanap nila. Also, they can extend. For example, di ba meron lang tayong period when it comes on search and seizure or in conducting and search and seizure of the computer data, there is just only at a period. So, if the law enforcement thinks na kulang yung araw, they can ask for another 30 days extension. So, law enforcement authorities may request for an extension of time to complete the examination of the computer data storage medium and to make return thereon, but in no case, no one longer than 30 days period. Ayan. So, bawal lang lalagpas ng 30 days. Next, custody of the computer data. So, saan naman po mapupunta? Parang drugs lang to. Okay? Di ba sa drugs, after they have gathered or collected all the evidences, upon termination, di ba? Upon termination of the case, they need to destroy the evidences or the drugs collected. Ganito rin sa mga computer data. So, all computer data, including content and traffic data that are examined under proper warrant shall, again, within 48 hours after the expiration of the period fixed therein, be deposited in the court, sealed the packages. Ayan. So, agad-agad automatically, ayan, within 48 hours after na-examine and na-collect ng mga police officer, dadalhin na yan sa loob ng korte. Ayan. So, provided, okay, that the law enforcement authority shall also certify, ayan, that there are no duplicates or copies na ginawa nila doon sa kanilang computer data. Original lang. Of the whole or any part thereof have been made or if made, all such duplicates or copies are included in the package. Lahat. Walang matitirang kopya si police officer, si law enforcer investigating that cybercrime. Bakit? Kasi di natin maiwasan, pwede lang gamitin yan or kapag na-leak yan, okay, pwedeng gamitin ng iba pang blackmail niya doon sa mismong nirereklamo. So, the package is so deposited and shall not be opened. Bibigay lang yan sa korte. Or the recordings replayed or used in evidence or their contents revealed except upon order of the court which shall not be granted upon motion or due notice and opportunity to be heard to the person or person whose conversation or communications have been recorded. Kasi there are communications that they are super private talaga sila or very sensitive in nature. That is why hindi sila naggagawa ng extra copy kung ano man ang na-collect nila. Dapat isa lang at lahat yon ibibigay kay korte. After kasi na magkaroon ng court trial, ito na yung sinasabi kong distraction. Ayan. So, after nagkaroon ng trial, meron na tayong final decision ng judge. So, upon the expiration, diba, or until the final termination of the case as ordered by the court, as the case may be, pwede nang sirain yan. Okay? As the case may be, service providers and law enforcement authorities, as the case may be, shall immediately, ayan, sisirain na, shall immediately and completely destroy the computer data that are subject of a preservation and examination order or warrant. Again, upon termination or final termination of the case, yung mga collected evidences nila, the computer data man yan, or any traffic data, non-content data man yan, automatically, in the termination of the case, sisirain din yan. Kasi ganun ang costo din ng mga computer data na. Very sensitive po kasi yan yung mga information na yan. Next. So, we are done with IRR of RA 10175. So, ang mangyari niyan, meron pang ibang rules doon, but included na kasi siya sa mga next topic natin sa midterm. Now, let's go with the Budapest Convention. So, sa Budapest Convention, nakapost din yan sa canvas nyo, lahat ng mga articles ng Budapest Convention. So, konti lang naman ang nilagay ko. So, what is Budapest Convention ba? So, the Budapest Convention is the convention of the first international treaty on crimes committed via internet and other computer networks dealing particularly with infringements of copyright, computer-related fraud, child pornography, and violations of network security, and contain a series of powers and procedures such as the search of computer networks and interception. Actually, yung Budapest Convention na yan, it has a 48 articles, and if you will just read that Budapest Convention posted on your canvas, doon mo marirealize na dyan lang din inadapt yung ating RA 10175, such as the computer fraud, cybersex, child pornography, lahat nandun sila. So, there are 48 articles wherein dinefine niya what are the cybercrime and what are the procedures upon enforcing a cybercrime law. So, ano bang ginawa ng ating Budapest? So, the Budapest Convention kasi happens in Hungary on November 23, 2001, wherein they have the mission na alin? Pag-isahin nila, okay? Pag-isahin nila or magkaroon sila ng international agreement upon enforcing the cybercrime. So, originally, it is just only for the European countries. And then, therefore, tumatagal, dumadami na yung kasapi nito. Why and how is the Council of Europe working against cybercrime? So, cybercrime, that is offenses against by the means of the computer system, has evolved into significant threat to human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, as well as to the international peace and stability. So, it has a major social and economic impact. In addition to it, in any crime may involve evidence. Lahat nga, di ba, ginawa na pa-realize nga ng cybercrime na kahit nakaupo ka or malayo ka sa kriminal, kaya kanyang saktan by the use of the computer and the internet. So, the approach of the Council of Europe to address this challenge consists of three interrelated elements. So, number one, tinawag nga nilang Budapest Convention or Convention on Cybercrime, wherein nagkaroon nga sila ng treaty. Ayan. Nagkaroon ng 48 articles about the cybercrime. And then, nagkaroon tayo ng Cybercrime Convention Committee, wherein ang trabaho nila or responsible sila for assessing the proper implementation of what has been included in the convention. And we also have Cybercrime Program Office of the Council of Europe, wherein they assist countries worldwide to strengthen their criminal justice capacities when it comes to cybercrime. Yan. So, nag-start yan noong 2001. Kaya nga, nagkaroon pa lang tayo ng Cybercrime Act 2012. So, matagal. Ayan. So, the Budapest Convention, please read. Please do read the Chapter 3, the International Cooperation. Kumuha ko ng some items or questions doon. Though, it is parang very comprehensive naman upon reading na kung paano lang sila nakikipag-cooperate. The basic protocol that we have, that we need to ask for assistance, we need to ask for their country, ganun lang din naman siya. Okay. Ang pinakamahalaga, meron tayong tinatawag na G7 24/7 Cybercrime Network. Ayan. So, with regard to high-tech crime, we must start by recognizing that new computer and telecommunications technologies offer unprecedented opportunities for global communications as nations become increasingly reliant upon this technology. So, ang cybercrime network, ito yung network wherein there are participants in each country, okay, na 24/7 naka-online yan, and which is favorable na kailangan they can give assistance to any of the country. So, what is the statement of the principles of the cybercrime network? No, safe havens, investigation and prosecution must be coordinated among all the concerned states or included dito sa tinatawag nating cybercrime network. Ano ba yan, ma'am? Ayan. So, use our established network of knowledgeable personnel to ensure timely, effective response to transnational high-tech cases. Madami na kasi, di ba? For example, cybersex, hindi lang siya nagko-commit dito sa bansa. Nagko-commit siya sa iba't ibang bansa. Meron tayong cybercrime network that will help us. For example, do you have access in this site? Mag-a-ask tayo ng tulong sa ibang country. Ito yon yung cybercrime network. So, paano ba, ma'am? Ito. So, meron tayong tinatawag na point of contact. Each country, meron silang POC or point of contact wherein tinatawag siyang participant. So, the point-to-point network for urgent assistance in cybercrime matters, ayan, single point of contact. Meron lang isa sa Pilipinas, meron lang sa isang country. Ayan. Which is available 24 hours per day and 7 days per week. But it doesn't mean isang tao lang magtatrabaho. Okay? Meron tayong isang parang computer system wherein dun lang sila magtatrabaho. Ang mangyayari dyan, 24/7 kailangan naka-online sila doon at naghihintay lang sila ng tawag if merong mag-a-ask ng assistance or ng tulong para masugpo yung tinatawag nating cybercrime. So, POC should be knowledgeable in the cybercrime matters, domestic man or internationally. Primary, the purpose of this cybercrime network or network protocol is to preserve data for subsequent transfer through mutual legal assistance channel. Parang yung kunwari, nagkakaroon ng credit card fraud or sa mga bangko. Paano nila na-freeze yan? Internationally, yung paglipat-lipat ng pera. Ito, by the use of the cybercrime network. Paano nila na-trace? Ito yan. So, how the network works or the protocol. Again, di ba meron tayong point of contact? Ang tawag sa kanila doon, participants. A new mechanism to expedite contacts between the participating states or other autonomous law enforcement jurisdiction of a state hereinafter referred as the participants. So, paano ba? Ganito ha. To use this network, the law enforcement agents seeking for assistance, for example, the Philippines will ask for help for another country. So, from a foreign participant, he may contact the 24-hour point of contact. Magko-contact ka doon sa yung counterpart mo in their own state or autonomous law enforcement jurisdiction, and in this individual or entity will, if appropriate, contact his or her counterpart. So, the participants in the network have committed to make their best efforts. Ayan, they promise na they will help each other in assisting for this combating of cybercrime. Okay, so the participants, as quickly as possible, they will commit their best to help or to assist the asking country or yung nag-seek ng help para bigyan sila ng information na kailangan nila about the cybercrime. So, the participant may produce evidence as well as the process of mutual legal assistance. Ayun. By which the requesting country seeks release of that information through what we call letters of request or procedure. So, nire-request nila yung information. So, paano ba maging member ng cybercrime network? So, there are 4 requirements for membership. Number 1, contact point must be available 24/7. So, contact point must have basic English language skills. Kailangan yan. Siyempre, you will talk with the foreign nationals or the foreign law enforcers. Contact point must have basic technical skills or alam niyang kalikutan yung computer, paano gumawa gumagawa ng mga forensic analysis, digital forensic analysis, or ano man yung mga application software nila to know the site or even mga computer data na kailangan nila or computer system. And the contact point, sabi ko nga sa inyo, must be familiar with the domestic laws and policies about the cybercrime. So that is the G7 24/7 Cybercrime Network. So that concludes our topics about RA 10175 and Budapest Convention. I will stop this recording.